The prophecies that Daniel received from God are key to understanding other biblical prophecies. So important are Daniel's prophecies that Christ himself told his disciples when he was discussing the events and signs that would take place before his return at the end of the age, that they were to understand the prophecies of Daniel. In Daniel 11, regarding the Antichrist, we're going to see additional information about this final world leader. In Daniel chapter 11, we see in the early verses a great deal of historical details, things that have already taken place in the past. But then about halfway through Daniel 11, we pick up some events that seem to have never happened before. It's at this point that I think that the Bible prophecy is depicting the Antichrist and events that will take place during the time of the end. It corresponds with other prophecies and relates to this final beast kingdom and this Antichrist who will persecute God's people until the end. Starting in Daniel 11:31, we see that his forces will rise up to desecrate the temple fortress and will abolish the daily sacrifice. Then they will set up the abomination that causes desolation. Now this event has some fulfillment in the past with Antiochus Epiphanes, a little over 100 years before the first advent of Christ. But I think the first clue in this is that this may happen again, and it says that they will set up the abomination that causes desolation, not an abomination. So in the previous verse we saw that there was a temple and sacrifice and offering were going on once again, and the abomination that causes desolation is set up. Then it says, with flattery he will corrupt those who have violated the covenant, but the people who know their God will firmly resist him. Those who are wise will instruct many, though for a time they will fall by the sword or be burned or captured or plundered. This may also be discussing the Great Tribulation, the last 3.5 years, when the Antichrist will be persecuting and killing and defeating the people of God. Next we're told that the king will do as he pleases. He will exalt and magnify himself above every god and will say unheard of things against the God of gods. He will be successful until the time of wrath is completed. Now while the other two things that we saw about the abomination and the great persecution are things that have happened in the past, but now we're beginning to see this all fitting together, because the Antichrist alone will exalt himself over everything that is called God and say unheard of things against the God of gods. And we're also told that the Antichrist is successful until the end of the Great Tribulation. By the way, this period of wrath, I think, is referring to Satan's wrath as opposed to God's wrath, because Antichrist is successful until that end. In this prophecy in Daniel 11, in verse 39, it says, he will attack the mightiest fortresses with the help of a foreign god. So at some point during the career of the Antichrist, he will attack the mightiest fortresses, which we might refer to today as superpowers. But it says he will do this. He will attack the mightiest superpowers with the help of a foreign god, or we might say with the help of a foreign power. But when exactly this occurs is not exactly clear in this prophecy. So the Antichrist and his forces have risen up, caused sacrifice and offering to cease in the temple, and they have set up the abomination that causes desolation. And this is when the Antichrist goes into the temple and sets himself up, exalting himself over every god and proclaiming that he is God. This commences the period of great tribulation, and the people of God will be persecuted to the death. However, we're also told in Daniel's prophecies, and this one's no exception, that at the time of the Antichrist, God will set up his kingdom, his eternal kingdom on earth, when the Messiah returns at the end of the age. Each of Daniel's prophecies about the coming kingdom of the Antichrist and the Antichrist himself provides additional information about this final world leader and the end of the age. None of them, however, could be taken alone. They must be compared with the other prophecies of the Bible about the same period of time and circumstances. When we put these all together and we see what's in common by reading the Scripture ourselves, then we can know what the truth is.